Thank you for joining us today. My name is Allison. I am Special Projects Coordinator for Avance, and I just wanted to give us a brief introduction to Mary, who is the Educational Outreach Manager at WGBH here in Boston, Massachusetts. Partnering with them for about 2 years now, and the partnership just keeps growing. And this is the latest and greatest piece of our partnership, which is a digital hub resource that I believe could be a great asset for not only the parent-child education program, but also for Head Start or any other programs that Avance and its affiliates may have. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary because she has the details of this, but I just want to thank you for joining us, and hopefully this will benefit us all.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Thank you. So let's see. It's about 22 right now here in Boston. We have until 2:30, and so what I'd like to do is I'd like to break up the presentation as follows. I'd like to start off with some PowerPoint slides to give you kind of a foundation of the what and the why of resources for early learning. You heard Allison refer to it as a digital hub. We use that term. We also use website, and we also use digital library, and you'll get to understand why we use different names to describe this vast repository of great early childhood media-based content for both teaching and learning. So I want to give you a kind of a foundation of the what and the why. Then I'd like to take you on a very brief kind of 30,000-foot overview tour of resources for early learning. We'll take a look at kind of the navigation, the content for both educators and parents, and then we'll show some of the media-based tools, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. My expectation is that, and my hope, is that after this initial orientation that you will return to resources for early learning to really delve in, to do searches, to watch more of the clips and the episodes and the web interactives, etc. Because the more you visit and the more you mine the site for all the great content, the better you will get at navigating it. So let's jump in. So I just wanted to give you a little overview of how this all happened and where the funding came from. The funding for Resources for Early Learning came directly from the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care through a Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge grant that they received from two federal agencies, the U.S. Department of Education and Health and Human Services. During the first round, 9 states were awarded multi-year, multi-million-dollar grants. You'll see on this slide the abbreviations for the states that were part of round 1, including Massachusetts. 5 additional states were awarded grants during round 2. And again, these are multi-year, multi-million-dollar grants, and the ranges are from $45 million to $70 million. And what are states asked to do with this funding? Well, they have to implement or to enhance systems change that was already in process, revamp and expand assessment efforts. And then all of this is in service to what, you might ask? All of this is in service to the primary goal of Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge, which is it's a meaningful goal, and that is to close the achievement gap with a particular focus on kids from low-income households. So Massachusetts, being one of the first round recipients of Race to the Top, through the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, received $50 million. Now the project is supporting a lot of initiatives, many of which are ongoing initiatives that were already in place here in the Commonwealth, but this was an infusion of really necessary funding that enabled the state to go further, to add more, to challenge the state's agencies and educators and parents to participate in a different way in closing the achievement gap. And then of course this grant went to develop some new resources which include the Digital Hub. For this we received a grant of $2.1 million over 4 years. And this work will build on work that the EEC has done over the past 3 to 4 years and take it to a new level. So our overarching goal for the Digital Hub is, again, to help to close the achievement gap. But given who we are, we're a media entity, we're a public broadcaster, our focus is going to be on taking research-based multimedia tools and organizing them in such a way that they are accessible to 3 primary audiences. The first is preschool classroom teachers. The second is family child care educators, because we know that there are unique challenges and responsibilities depending on the learning environment that you work in. And what a preschool classroom teacher might need might be different from what a family child care educator needs. So we address both of those audiences. And then of course parents. In order to do that, we are focusing on quality resources for both of these audiences, improving access. This Digital Hub, or this website, is available free of charge. So all you need is an internet connection in order to access all of these great resources. And you can access it on a desktop computer. But the way that the website was constructed, it uses something called responsive design. And what that means is that we develop the infrastructure once, and then we're in a position to deploy it onto multiple platforms. So if you have a desktop or a laptop, you can access it. If you have a tablet, you can access it. And if you have a smartphone, you can access it. Now what happens with responsive design is that the content and the information is just realigned and to accommodate for the size of the screen that you have in front of you. But responsive design is an important consideration, especially with our target audience. Parents and educators are more and more mobile, and we wanted to make sure that we give them access where they are, when they're available, and on the types of platforms that they most use. And then of course a third focus is sustainability. The state obviously has invested grant funds and time and effort into the Digital Hub, and they want to make sure that this is a resource that their educators and their parents here in the Commonwealth can access for years to come. And we believe that we've done that with this Digital Hub. So we just completed year 1. And in September, at the end of year 1, we were fortunate to launch resources for early learning. So you were some of the first people who are getting to see the Digital Hub and what we're calling phase 1. So during year 1, we wanted to build out the Digital Hub with some content for educators and some content for parents. So for educators during year 1, we focus on educators of preschool age kids, 3 to 5-year-olds. And for them, we created a year-long multimedia preschool curriculum focusing primarily on English Language Arts, ELA, and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, with social emotional woven throughout. For ELA and STEM, we're drawing upon 2 iconic PBS series, both Emmy Award winning and both well researched in terms of how these materials help to accelerate learning among young children. Our ELA series was Between the Lions, and for STEM, we're using Peep in the Big Wide World. So we have a curriculum, and I'll take you on a brief tour of that in a moment. But we also know that teachers need to see what this looks like in classrooms. And one of the best ways that we can share what this looks like is through video. And so we created a series of professional development modules that demonstrate best practices in ELA and in STEM. And I'll take you on a tour of that and show you how educators can access these great modules. And then finally, during year one, for educators, our focus is on what we're doing right now, webinars, raising awareness, getting more and more educators and parents engaged with resources for early learning. And here in Massachusetts, we're also doing face-to-face webinars and all this great new content. So that was what we created during year one for educators. We also created materials for parents, but a request from the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, we created resources during year one for parents of infants and toddlers. And so we created both a series of activities for parents that helps them to identify and understand those developmental milestones that their children are going through, and that provide parents with easy to do activities that are fun and engaging and that they know help to promote learning, especially during these critical early years. Just like with the educators, parents like to see what's working, what this looks like when you're engaging with an infant or a toddler. And so we created for parents a series of training modules. They focus on those key developmental milestones and provide parents with easy-to-do recommendations, tips, activities so that they can promote early learning in their infants and toddlers. And I think one thing that's kind of unique about the parent videos is that it's a peer-to-peer approach. So what you'll see, and I'll show you one of the videos in a moment, is parents talking to parents, parents sharing their experiences, engaging and supporting their infants and toddlers, again, during this critical developmental period. You'll see the video that I'm going to show in a moment. A lot of the parents are focused on dual language acquisition. So these are parents who are fluent in another language, and they want to make sure that their infants and toddlers are exposed to both home languages to help their children become more receptive to language acquisition as they grow. So there's some really good concrete recommendations and tips that these parents will share with you and with others. And then the third thing we did during year one, of course, again, is webinars and workshops on the new content. So we're just starting year two, and year two is just going to be filled with more content that we're going to be loading onto the Digital Hub. So for educators during year two, we are going to develop a suite of activities that are appropriate for educators who work with infants and toddlers. And we will also develop a suite of professional development modules, again, that present those key developmental milestones and that help early childhood educators make the most of their time with these young children whose brains are developing at such rapid rates. And then for parents during year two, we're going to focus on parents of preschoolers. So here again, we have a series of activities that cover developmentally appropriate activities that parents can do with their children, And again, we give parents an opportunity to hear from their peers. What are other parents doing and experiencing? What are their tips? What do they have success with in terms of activities that support the academic, social, and emotional growth of young preschoolers? And then finally, during year 2, a little later on in 2014, we are going to launch a very robust text message campaign. We know through our efforts that we are going to cultivate an audience that will make its way to resources for early learning. But we also know that in a digital and very mobile world, we also need to be responsible for pushing out information, and a text message campaign is ideal for that. And so beginning in late April and continuing through December 2015, we will be launching and mobilizing a very robust weekly text message campaign with messages going out to parents of infants and toddlers and parents of preschoolers with great information that includes web links, obviously to resources for early learning, but also to a lot of other great resources. And we're also going to use this as an opportunity and a platform to promote family opportunities, events, cultural events, educational events all around the Commonwealth. So we're very excited about that. Now, before I take you again on this kind of 30,000-foot overview tour of resources for early learning, I just wanted to state what WGBH's policy is in terms of the use of media with young children. Now, some of you may be wondering, you may be a little concerned or a little skeptical about the use of media. Here's where we stand. WGBH's approach is completely consistent with NAUIC, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and the Fred Rogers Center. They together issued a joint position statement on media and technology and young children. We're also consistent with Joan Ganz Cooney and American Academy of Pediatrics. Now, what do all of these groups essentially say? Well, they say that number one, media is here, and media is here to stay. And it is our collective responsibility to help adults kind of manage and take control over media so that it can be used as a positive tool for learning, especially with young children. And what that means in practice is that when you use media with young children, it has to be intentional. There has to be some very specific reason why you're using media and not something else. It has to be developmentally appropriate, meaning that the content and the skills that are highlighted in the media that you're using with young children has to meet children where they are. It has to be used in moderation, and it's better used not just in moderation, but also with mediation. So that means that you don't hand a device to a child and walk away. You use that as an opportunity to engage that child, something called joint media engagement. It's a learning opportunity and one that's better shared, especially with young children. And then finally, this is something that GBH experiments with a lot. When do you introduce media within an activity? And sometimes we use it as a springboard to some kind of off-screen engagement. So for example, say you are working with some preschoolers and helping them to explore shadows, how to make shadows bigger and smaller. One thing you could do is you could watch a short video from Peep in the Big Wide World, a 90-second video featuring young kids exploring the world around them and playing and exploring with shadows outside. And then you could turn off the television or the computer and say, hey, let's go outside and let's experiment ourselves with shadows. So that's the springboard to the off-screen engagement. But you could also do the flip. You could also start off with the off-screen activity and then come inside and as a group watch this short video together to help prompt reflection, because it's always great when kids have time and receive encouragement to reflect on activities that they just experienced. So we experiment a lot with when and how to use media with young children, and I hope that you will do the same. So why don't we hop on to, and I believe, and Allison, can you tell me, can you see resources for early learning on your screen?
No, I think that I need to share my desktop, unless you're able to try to share yours.
Probably not. Yeah, if you could, that would be great. And I'll just take you on a quick tour of both the parent homepage and educator homepage, and then we'll watch some videos, and then we'll take some questions. Perfect. Okay, so I'm assuming that everyone can see resources for early learning, which is the home page for the Digital Hub. And I'm just going to scroll down just for a moment, and then I'll scroll back up. Okay, and you'll see these, kind of tabs or folders. Everything is color-coded, so when you see the blue, you know you're in the educator section, parents in purple, children in pink, etc. Next time you visit the Digital Hub, I would suggest that you start off with the About section, because it'll provide you with some additional background on what this is, why we developed it, what the goals are, etc. And especially if you want to share this with others, it's a really great place to start. So, so again, this is the home page for resources for early learning. And as I said, there are some primary audiences: educators, obviously, parents, children. I didn't mention children as a primary audience because that is understood. That's a focus of our work. I'm sure it's a focus of your work. We're doing all of this. We're equipping adults with tools that will enhance instruction and accelerate learning. And I'll take you on a quick tour of the children's section in just a moment, and then of course the About. So why don't we start off with parents? Okay, so right now we are on the home page of the parents section. And this section includes 3 components: activities that are organized by topic and skill. And you'll notice that we have from math to music to science to talking and listening. These were not selected at random. We talked to a lot of parents. We talked to a lot of educators. And again, remember, this is all products from year 1. So we're focused on infants and toddlers. And so we talked with folks about what they're most interested in. What are the topics that parents want to know more about and need to know more about in order to assume that critical role of their child's first teacher. And then also, one other consideration was, what are the topics that media can actually help with? And there are a lot of topics that media can help with as a tool. And so that's how we got to all of these topics. And I'll return here in a moment. You'll notice a second component of the parent homepage is a search feature. So what you can do is you can come to the site, and if you have a particular activity or if you have a particular situation like bath time or waiting in line or in the car, you name it, you can customize a search and really find exactly what you need. This is a big challenge for us because, as I mentioned, this site is very comprehensive. And what we wanted to do was not only create all of this great content, not only organize it, but also figure out the pathways to the content so that a busy parent, a busy educator can actually access the information that they want and need quickly. And this search feature does that, and I'll show you a little bit more on that in just a moment. And then the third feature of the parent homepage is parent videos, and these are the video-centered modules that we've created on, again, just like with the topics and skills, just these important topics and skills that parents want to know more about and that they need to know more about. So what I'll do is, let's take a look at talking and listening. And again, this is the activities and skills section. And you can enter either, oh, sorry, I'm over. There we go. You can enter using either one of these tabs, either the overview or the activities. Let's take a look at the overview. Okay, now this is a page dedicated exclusively to this topic, talking and listening for parents of infants and toddlers. Now you'll notice here in this overview that we break down the 0 to 3 audience in 2 discrete groups, because we know that developmentally children are vastly different in terms of what their needs are, what their interest level and ability to focus will be if they are a baby or a toddler. So these are 2 kind of pathways into more activities. So if we're talking Bates, let's focus on some of the activities. Oops, sorry. Sorry, there's an unfortunate delay in here, so I apologize for that. Okay, so what this is going to do is provide you with an overview, and then you can delve in further by clicking on Next. I think, hold on. Sorry. Yikes. Okay, great. So let's take a look at the tabs under here. We have resources in PDF, and then we have tips in both English and Spanish. Let's take a look at some of the resources. Now, all of these resources are focused on what's available free of charge. Some are for sale, but your local public library would have many of these resources. So there's general information about parenting, and then more information, both guides, reports, organizations with websites. The Fred Rogers Center is a particularly good website to go to. There's some that are focused on parents, others that are focused on general learning. So I would encourage you to take a look at all of these resources. There's just a wealth of information on general parenting, and then more specific topics like talking and listening and reading, etc. I'm just going to go back up here. Now I mentioned tips. Now the tips are in addition to the activities that we highlight. And what we wanted to do was just provide parents with as much information as possible. And so the way that I'm sorry, I'm trying to get back. Screen control interrupted.
Sorry, Mary. It went to a different tab. So is this where you wanted to be?
Yeah, this is great. This is great. So I just wanted to show you the tips in both English and Spanish, and these are printable PDFs. So because we were talking about talk, let's just take a look at this. And these are supplements to the activities. These are the really quick activities that just give some quick tips, quick guidance for how you can support your child's development around this topic. In this case, it's talk. Okay, so there's little tip information, little activity suggestions, etc. And because we know how important it is to promote second language at home, we've translated all of these also to Spanish. And Allison, I just need to go back to the activity homepage. So, great. So let's take a look at consejos. That is tips in Spanish. And you'll see that every topic that we have in English, we've translated into Spanish. I won't open up hablar, hablar, y hablar, but it is a direct translation of the English version. Then I just want to go back up to the top and just talk a little bit about the learning guidelines. This was a request from the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care. Now there aren't standards per se for parents, but here in Massachusetts, and I would imagine in your state as well, there are guidelines. And so what we did was we aligned these activities to the available guidelines. So if a parent wants to know the significance of these activities, or if you are part of a program where you can access parent trainings, the trainers will be particularly interested in the guidelines alignment. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And then I am going to what I'm trying to do is open up the toddler activities. And I don't know if, am I clicking the wrong place?
Is that where you want to be?
Yes, thank you. Yes, okay. Thank you. And so as I mentioned, we have two different age categories. Birth through 15 months, and then toddlers 1 year to 33 months. And these are great, fun activities. These illustrations, I think, really help. And you can see that this is not overwhelming in terms of the quantity of text, but it's just, you know, here's this cute activity, here's what you do. Go and try it. And again, I would encourage you to take a look at these and the other activities, and then also the tips, which are supplements to the core activities. So what I'd like to do now is go back to the parents' homepage and just show you one of the parent videos. I mentioned that we've created these parenting video series on topics that are of interest to families. And why don't we take a look at one of them, Talking and Listening. Now you'll notice that there's a button here that says Print Facilitator's Guide. The reason for that is there are two ways that you can access this video series. One is self-paced. You're a parent, you can come on here, you can read this introductory text before you watch the video. It'll give you kind of an orientation to what you're going to be viewing. Then you can watch the video and then do some follow-up after viewing. There are also on the left, there are a number of resources that you can access. And tips, again, that supplement the video, and the tips are available in both English and Spanish. So why don't we take a look at, and I believe that this is the video. Allison, can I just click on this? Yes. Okay, so this is one of the parenting videos. Let's take a look.
Ahí van los trenes.
Go train, go! Go train, go! Choo choo!
Talking, right? I mean, it sounds so simple.
Do small. We're talking, communicating all the time.
Hey, guys.
There's your buddy.
It does feel like we're having a bit of a conversation.
Tell more.
And it's something that I've done from the very beginning, even before my children were conversational. Using the things that we see, describing them.
We want to engage him.
What's this? It's a taxi.
Taxi!
Children are sponges and they can learn so quickly, and once you see it in action, you realize how true it is.
Let's have an adventure.
From my point of view as a single parent, he's my constant companion.
This, my friend, is a tricycle. You do not have one yet.
Most things he's never seen before, which just kind of blows my mind sometimes.
We're having conversations about what we see, we're describing our surroundings. Et c'est quoi ça? Une quoi?
Poule.
Une poule. Bon, ça c'est bizarre.
Let's go see the buses.
We say that, let's do this, let's go see the bus. Vamos a ver al amigo, let's go see our friend, let's go to the park and play football. Then I think he gets excited. Thinks of it as a trip, really. It's a journey.
Hay un jeep, allá un jeep.
Every single thing,
You have a Jeep.
just expound on it, say a little story, just narrate whatever is happening.
It's important to speak to them and just to start using, full sentences and words and describe things from the very beginning.
Check it out. It's very exciting. It sounds like he's actually saying words, so then I will pick out whatever sound it was that he sounded like he made a word, and then I will use it in a different way.
You love the butterfly.
Without using words, a child can be very engaging through vocalizations that they aren't words yet, but you realize that there eventually will be words.
Ooh, baby.
When you start hearing those sounds, nice, you realize that this is all early language development.
We have a lot of books, and every single picture or object in a book that we read, we point them out.
And the baby.
We try to make a little story out of that, like what is that? What is it doing there?
Niña. La niña. ¿Quién más? Doggy.
El perrito.
Blush, blush, blush.
Yeah.
I sing a lot with my children. I'm a terrible singer. Make it a little bit more fun by maybe singing about the things that you're seeing, and the child, will respond to that as well.
Back to my home.
That's been very, very useful lately, actually, to learn words. He knows a few songs he almost knows entirely.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Pound, 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 pound. Wow! So yes, you kick the ball into the goal, but there's also the other way of you're kicking the ball in the goal. You kick the ball on the wall. Now the ball hit the door.
Un puente.
Puente. Está pasando por el puente.
Choo.
Sometimes it can be a little frustrating for him. I like to use those opportunities for him to ask for help. Do you need some help? Yeah. And to then figure out to go past it. Help, please. Help me. Oh, sure, I'll help you.
That's a volcano.
Ah, un volcan, hein? Tu veux faire la lettre E pour Elsie? When it comes to second language acquisition, there's lots of different theories and lots of different ways you can do it.
We decided that the sort of best methodology, or close to it, is the one parent, one language methodology.
Este carro grande. Y este.
I speak Spanish to him 100% of the time.
¿Cómo es? Chiquitito.
Right now, the only way he gets English is through me. Where are your ears? Where's your mouth? Can you put a grape in your mouth? The trains? You can play with the trains afterwards, but first let's eat some grapes, okay?
I'm done.
All done?
The way that it worked best for me from the very beginning is using French through story time.
À la mode de chez nous.
Each child's different. Each child learns differently.
I really think that it increases their ability to learn. At such a young age, their brains are sponges, and so the more things that they're being exposed to just helps with their development.
Ready? Let's go.
I just kind of spend my whole day communicating with him.
Look at that December rose.
Just in the same way that I would with a person who can also talk. I know.
Great. So if we could return to the digital hub. I'd just like to very quickly show you the educator section. Okay, so just like the parent homepage, the educator homepage is organized in a similar way. So you'll see the same activity search feature that you can customize if you're looking for a particular type of activity, or you want something more and in context, you can access this comprehensive ELA STEM curriculum, again drawn from Between the Lions and Peep in the Big Wide World. There are 9 units. It's a 30-week preschool curriculum. To be honest, if you adopted this full curriculum and did absolutely every activity, it would probably take you longer than 30 weeks to get through. There's just that much information, but it's really terrific information. And the 9 units are organized in such a way that you get a nice blending of, again, ELA, STEM, and social emotional throughout. And then, of course, we have our professional development section. So let's just click on that very quickly. And again, parents, you'll notice that we have the videos over here. So let's take a look at engaging children in STEM. And you'll notice that there are 2 ways to access the video. One is self-paced. So if you are an educator and in your downtime, although educators don't tend to have a whole lot of downtime, but if you do, you can go through each of the modules on your own and have a really rich experience. But if you would prefer to have this experience mediated by a facilitator and in a group setting with your peers, you can do that as well. And what we've done for each of these modules is we've created a facilitator's guide. So if you are a trainer at a Head Start or other early childhood program and you want to offer this series of training videos, you can certainly do that. And they meet CEU standards, so participants can actually earn CEU credits in a facilitated environment. So each video in this series, unlike with the parents, for the parent videos, each topic has just one video. For the educator videos, each one has an introduction, and I'm going to show you this introduction, I think, really quickly. And the introductory video is short. I think it's about 90 seconds, something like that. And what it does is it gives you a great overview of what the module is going to address. And it's a great introduction to that module. And then we usually take 3, sometimes 4 key strategies and really drill down on those key strategies. So this particular module actually has 4 videos. So why don't we see if we can view this introductory video. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to. So sorry. There's a loading issue that just does not seem to be working.
Oh, it's not. I apologize so much.
Yeah, no worries. But on your own, I would really strongly suggest that you take a look at these videos. Again, these introductory videos really set the stage for the topic and are really terrific. So if we could just go back to the home page of the Hub, there's just one more thing I wanted to show, and then we'll take the last 5 minutes for questions. Yeah, great. Okay. Let's just take a really quick look at the children's section.
Do you have control of the screen still, Mary? I'm sorry.
Let me see. I don't.
Okay. Let me.
Yeah, There we go. And this should, yeah.
I'm just going to close that. Go ahead.
Great. Okay, so let's take a look at the children's tab. There we go. Okay, and what we have children's section is kid-approved playlists. And what we've done is for each of the 9 units in the curriculum, we have curated a playlist that is aligned thematically with each of the units. And within each of the curriculum units, the unit playlist is comprised of a variety of media, from games, online interactives, to short animated videos. Sometimes we have live action videos, and sometimes shorter episodes. Now, how do adults use these playlists with kids? Well, if you're an educator and you have a computer station in your classroom, you can easily load this playlist onto the computer, and then during free play or child-directed play, kids can kind of rotate to your computers and call up these interactives, these videos, these songs, etc. And they're all, again, tied thematically. Skill-wise, they align and enhance the other work of the curriculum unit that presumably you've done before and will do after. So they're great to kind of round out each one of the units that's being taught. Again, all of the interactives here, all of the videos, the songs, etc., are all thematically aligned, in this case to Unit 1, which focuses on families, friends, and more. If you are a parent and you are spending some time with your children, you have access to either a computer or a tablet or even a smartphone. You can call up this playlist. You can choose from any of the 9 playlists, and you can watch this fun letter song with your kids, or play ABC Watermelon, which is an online game with your kids. Or, depending on the age of your kids, especially if they are slightly older, you can hand over the navigation of the tablet or the smartphone to your child. But again, joint media engagement is always best. We would encourage you to share these short videos, these animations, these online games with your children. So I will just return to our home base, which is the home page for resources for early learning. Again, what you've seen is our kind of the work that we did during year 1. We are already into development of year 2, and by April, and then probably by the end of the summer, those will be our 2 kind of upload points where we'll just be adding new content. And by the fall, Resources for Early Learning will have all of the resources for parents of children birth through age 5, for educators of children birth through age 5, and then some great games and videos and songs and animations, etc., for kids to enjoy. So with the last couple minutes, I'm happy to take any questions.
So I think that the best way to do that would be if people can type in, because I don't, especially if you're watching through the computer, we won't be able to hear you, I don't believe. So if you could type in any questions you have, that would be great. I also want to just share kind of my feedback when I first, my initial reaction was just, we can use this in so many different ways through both PSEP and our other programs. Of course, in the early childhood classrooms, this is a great resource for curriculum. As Mary mentioned, the full 0 to 3 curriculum is not yet in place, but you can definitely modify what's already there or get ideas from that. And when that full curriculum is in place, it's going to be just absolutely amazing. You can also use it with the parents during the 3rd hour, taking those parent videos and showing them how to use this resource and how they can take this into their own home the way we do with toy making, giving them the tools and the resources to further what they do with their children rather than just what's in the classroom. And I'm sure you guys have thought of other things that I didn't even think of because I'm not actually on the ground the way you are. But, I just think it's an amazing, amazing resource, both for PSEP and all of the other programs that Avance and its affiliates, provide. I haven't seen any questions, but based on questions we had in the last class, Mary, you mentioned it a little bit, but could you maybe talk about the research and evidence-based aspect of this? Because I think that's really important, especially for government-funded programs.
Sure. On both programs, which are the core of the curriculum, both Between Lions and Peep in the Big Wide World, they've been well researched, and you can access the research studies for Between Lions on the Between Lions website, or you can contact me. I'd be happy to send you the research studies. And what has been researched on Between the Lions, which is our ELA curriculum, has been both the media itself and the media in the context of a curricular framework. And so very early on, a researcher at University of Kansas, who later moved to University of Pennsylvania, Annenberg, decided to focus on just the media to see what happens if young children simply watch. The teachers don't do anything else but offer the videos for or the episodes for the kids to watch. And what this researcher found was that on those key skills that were highlighted in the videos, and again I mentioned developmentally appropriate. So young children watching content that meets them where they are, if that can accelerate learning or help them to better understand a concept like vocabulary or verbal blending or concepts of print, then that media is successful. And what this researcher found was that that indeed was the case, and that for very young children, just watching helped to make these concepts sticky for them and help them to acquire these foundational skills that are the basis of reading. So that was University of Kansas. And then what the same researcher did when she was at University of Pennsylvania was to put the media in a broader educational context. And so we at WGBH created an ELA curriculum, not an ELA STEM. So this was kind of the forerunner of today's resources for early learning. We created a comprehensive ELA curriculum embedded with media, but with lesson plans and everything else, and introduced that in classrooms in Mississippi, in the Delta, and also in American Indian Head Start programs. And we saw very similar results. Children who were exposed to Between the Lions and those fundamental skills that meet children where they are actually did better on standardized tests than children who were not exposed to the same intervention, which is very exciting. And we're happy to, again, share those research findings with you. And then just on Peep in the Big Wide World, one of the things that was so important for us to learn about was, could Peep with all of our resources, help teachers feel more comfortable with STEM, choose to teach STEM more often, and may that they interacted with their students around STEM. And by that I mean feel more comfortable saying, I don't know, when a child asks a question. And I think that that was something that we came across a lot, that educators felt that, especially with STEM, that they were reluctant to teach STEM because they thought they always had to know the answers. And a lot of people, especially in the United States, have of a certain age have had maybe not so great experiences with math or with science or with engineering. And this is a common misperception that especially early childhood educators have, that they always have to know the answer. Well, they don't. It's about exploration. It's about the open-endedness of the exploration. And what we found through some evaluations was that the teaching teachers, the PEEP approach, actually helped to revolutionize their teaching in the classroom. They felt much more comfortable and really embraced the exploration and the unknown, and were able to impart that to their students, and really allowed their students to be the natural scientists that they are. Inquisitive, taking risks, exploring the world around them. So again, if anyone's interested, I can forward you executive summaries or the full research studies. Be happy to.
Yeah, I think that would be great, Mary, if we could get that from you.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, too, I haven't seen any further questions, but, along with the research, WGBH is going to be presenting at 0 to 3's pre-conference in the afternoon of Avance's Learning Through Play. So that's another opportunity to come and delve into this even more and learn more about it, I think, and the other the more resources that WGBH has to offer. So I think that's another opportunity for us to continue on with this too.
Definitely.
So it looks like we don't have any questions, so I won't take up any more of your time, Mary. Thank you so much for presenting this one more time.
Absolutely.
We greatly appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.